Okay, we about to go down a rabbit hole. So it was maybe like 1, 2 a.m. No, it had to be 1 a.m. And I saw a new episode of Black Love was posted, mind you, or maybe it's Black is Love. No, I think it's called Black Love. I don't watch that show. I don't believe I ever watched a full episode until this past weekend. But recently I've been seeing clips of people dragging this show on Twitter because of what the couples would say. Like, it was kind of, I'm not even gonna get into that. So I was like, you know what? I'm bored. I can't sleep. I need a laugh. Because the clips I've seen were laughable. Well, child, the episode I watched, the one couple, it was kind of talking about mental health the entire episode. And the one couple was talking about how her husband never dealt with trauma that happened to him growing up. One of those traumas was basically his whole family died from the Jonestown massacre. And she talked about, you know how they say don't drink the Kool-Aid, that's where that came from, which I've always heard that term. I'm not gonna say always heard of this story, but I heard of that story growing up, but I never got any details about it, and I never was very interested into looking into something like that. I guess because it was before my time, so when I heard it as a kid, I was just like, oh, that's sad, and kept it moving. But baby, I had time Sunday. So after that, I was like, I wonder, because this happened around the 70s. I think 1978, they actually built the compound. So I'm like, there has to be video footage. Let me find some documentaries. I want live footage. I want to see what this guy looks like, all that. So your girl went down a rabbit hole. Found this YouTube, I'm not gonna say YouTube documentary. I found this documentary on YouTube, and it was about an hour and some change. I'm not gonna lie, I fell asleep only because I started to get tired around about 40 minutes. Then I woke up, restarted it, and I was like, the whole time. So the documentary was half reenactment, half real clips, and your girl was glued. So then I just kept looking up stuff all night. Then I made a Facebook post hey, because after seeing Black is Love or Black Love, it made me think, okay, maybe, and I have friends on the West Coast now. I'm like, maybe somebody I know, parents went there, or relatives or friends. I want to know, was anybody else part of this cult? Nobody responded regarding that, but one of my homies put me on to this podcast, which I wish I knew it off the top of my head. I'll put it in the section because it's really good podcast. So I'm gonna do a 2-episode review each day. I didn't finish all of episode 2 because the middle of it started getting real juicy, and I was listening to it at work, and I couldn't really get all the details. So I'm gonna give y'all as much as I can and then follow up tomorrow. Okay, I'm back. The podcast is called Transmissions of Jonestown. So basically, this is from episode 1. Homeboy was trouble from the get-go. So after I listened to all the episodes, I want to go back and find out where was your parents at, because he had this obsession with pets as a child. He had a whole bunch of pets in cages all outside his parents' house. So I'm wondering, why did y'all allow this child to have all these pets? I get it, here and there, but that didn't, I don't know. I feel like if my kid had an obsession with, and pets in cages, it's not like they were in the house and he was loving on them. They were pets in cages. Nobody, and he grew up in Indiana. Not that was shade. Okay. I'm just saying he grew up in Indiana, so maybe he's in the middle of nowhere. His parents worked all day and they didn't know nothing. I don't know. But he didn't really have no childhood friends, and then the friends that would come over, he would have these sermons at home. He would be outside preaching. So of course he didn't have a lot of friends, because kids ain't trying to go to church during a weekday. They want to play with their toys and stuff. So they was just kind of I don't know what's up with Bull. So as he got older, he began studying all of like the pastors and the big time preachers of that time. One of the people he really like his eyes was drawn to was somebody called Father Divine, which I'm gonna dig deep into that after all of this. So Father Divine, I believe, was like a big Baptist preacher of that time, and when he died, Jim Jones thought, oh, this is my time to shine. I'm gonna take over the church. I'm gonna be this big pastor, woo, woo, woo. And then Father Divine's wife said, pause. What you're not gonna do is this. Like, this is mine. So she took over. Come on, deaconess. I think that's the correct term. Don't beat me up. So she took over for her husband, because she was just like, out of my face, out of my face. Like, boy, we don't know you like that. So then that's when he created the temple, which I believe is literally called the temple or Jonestown temple. And it was basically, oh, this is what really bothers me. So his target market was Black people, poor people, and the elderly. But majority of those categories were still Black poor people, Black elderly people, and then the whites that was on his team were highly educated. Like, they the one who helped him with all his shenanigans. Like, he would do like these faux healings. So he would have like, you know, like an actor come up and act like they have cancer, and which I don't understand this part, but maybe because I know people do the most in church, so that wouldn't, like, I would look at that and be like, okay. But basically they said one of his like routines was somebody would come up, act like they got cancer or whatever, and his wife would have like a chicken gizzard, like a raw chicken gizzard or something in her hand, and he would pray the cancer away, and then like she would throw it up or whatever and fake everybody, and everybody would think the cancer flew out the body. And it was, now that wouldn't have worked on me, but he had other healings, of course, like, oh, my leg broke, he cut the cast off, now they running through the church, and ooh, he healed me. But another thing that was creepy, these highly intelligent white folk he would have on his team, they would do research on you. So they would have somebody else who's like an actor, like maybe come to your house acting like they're the census board or something, and they would find little things in your home, like maybe you have a picture of your grandma in your bedroom, or maybe you got lavender everywhere, so they know that's your favorite scent. So the next time in church, Pastor Jim Jones would be like, oh, because God is telling me that your grandmama that you got on your mantle at home, and that lavender and blah, blah, blah. And it would, you know, you'd be like, oh, how you know all that? That's personal. Like, people would believe it, which makes sense. Elderly people, like, duh, like, no shade to the elderly, but I heard when you get older, you lose a few marbles. I'm sorry, that ate me up. Because they would even go through people's garbage too. Like, they would go through your garbage and like read letters from your mail. But he probably only knew that because he read the mail. Like, the doctor probably sent info saying, hey, you good, and now he telling you, when in reality the doctor did they work. But so yeah, he would just call random names out while he's preaching, and they already did research on him. He was a hoe, which is confusing me because he was married, so I don't know, was his wife okay with the open? She had to be okay, because the more I'm listening to it, he did something, or maybe she was such a believer that in her head that wasn't him hoeing, but whatever. He was dating all the young girls, even though, you know, he was geared to the elderly, the poor, why you dating all them? Why you ain't dating the elderly women? Ageism. So he was dating all the young girls at the temple. He would preach that he's such an incredible lover. He has these magical sexual powers to kind of like lure you in. Men too. which this is, I can get, because my thing is, when I was watching this Sunday, I'm like, how did people believe this, or how were they so, I don't know, googly-eyed over him? But I can see just a little bit, especially as a Black woman. He was in them streets when it came to civil rights. So he was the first person in Indiana to have a integrated movie theater. And he did a lot of stuff in Indiana regarding, you know, just civil rights. So of course, especially at that time, I mean, they killed Martin Luther. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but you know, the FBI was on his back, the Black Panther, CIA, like they was on his butt, right? And then out of nowhere, they ghosted, like they stopped messing with them. So one, which I'm gonna leave this alone because that's gonna be too deep into the rabbit hole for me. I'm gonna just keep it easy. Maybe next year I'll look into that. But it was like years that he fell off the map, right? So that's in the podcast I was listening to. They were kind of like, they believe he started working for the government, or the CIA, somebody. He was working under them because like he just disappeared. Like where you go, bro? He just disappeared for years. But yeah, during that time when he had his temple and stuff, they was tapping his phone. I mean, he was tapping some of his church people's phones to listen in a conversation. He was just. But once he came back, you know, he was back in the swing of things with the temple, and they moved a lot. Like I know the first one was in Indiana, then they ended up in Cali. But when he was hiding, well, I'm not gonna say hiding, but when people thought he worked for the government, he was everywhere. He was in Cuba, Brazil, like he had multiple passports. So when he got the new temple, to show your loyalty, this man had people signing away their rights to their children to him. And what he would do is have them sign these faux documents stating, oh, I abused my child, or I was molesting my child, to show that dedication of loyalty, like showing like, oh, I'll sign this crazy paper that's not true just to show you how loyal I am. So these people's out there signing away their child's rights. I'm sorry, that's really messing me up. Oh, and then he encouraged the children to rat out their parents if they decided to leave the congregation. And there's a clip of this child, and I could tell it's like a little Black boy. And he's like, my mama's so stupid, I smacked the shit out. I mean, he's cussing and everything. I'll smack the shit out of my mama. So I'm guessing his mom must have left, and maybe he's there with his dad type of thing. And I'm just like, oh, even the babies is brainwashed. Like, this is scary. They had arranged marriages. He wanted everything to look a certain way, so he was matching up people that he thought would go together. So people who left the temple, I'm gonna call them ex-temple members, they were showing up dead, child. Now, nobody got proof it was him, but all I'm saying is, y'all was at the temple, at the congregation and healthy, then y'all decided to leave, which he wasn't cool with. He would have people from the church call, or the temple, call your phone and be like, where have you been? Or why aren't you donating anymore? And the one lady was like, yo, like, I'm in school, I have a job, I don't have time to do these meetings twice a week. Like, I'll still come to church, but I need balance. So they ended up building like a compound in Guyana. I was gonna say the coast of, no, it's the coast of Venezuela. Like, it's right, it's on that, you get it. So on the compound, he's a sicko, yo. He held a fake suicide mission. I mean, he had these people, you know, like crying, like, cause you know, you think you about to die. So he would call it White Night because he felt like, I think the term is called Black Day or Black Night. He felt that term was racist, so he would call these white knights. And the first one, he was testing everybody. Like, it was to test everybody's loyalty on the compound to see if they would like run or whatever. Everybody was down. He had them drink like some, like say water, but told them it was poisonous, and everybody drank it. And then he was kind of like, psych, just testing y'all loyalty, which, bro, what? You know, I would have I would have left that day. So after that, he would keep hosting them. He would call them white knights, and he would just test everybody, and it was kind of like practicing. So practicing for the big day. So clearly he knew he wanted, which I'm gonna get into that probably later down some videos. Episode 2, which I'm only gonna give you half of episode 2 because I didn't finish it. I kept re-listening to episode 2 because I couldn't get all the points, but I'm gonna finish it. So episode 2, he would tell everybody on the compound, like, say if somebody did leave, or say if somebody did try to contact you, which probably was impossible, he would brainwash you, you know, saying any ex-temple members, they are bad, they're CIA, they may smile in your face, but they'll kill you, like really freaking people out. And upon arrival to paradise in Guyana, all your items were confiscated. He was a bully, yo. All your items was confiscated once you hit the tarmac, okay? Because he had this idea of a socialist society and everybody needs to share everything, which I'm gonna keep that to myself. Like, what? No. This is where they really had me fucked up. Food was scarce. Now, when I watched the documentary, they said they would eat just rice every day. And I'm like, bruh, this documentary gotta be wrong. They, like, it was all this green land. I saw them farming. So I'm like, they had to have veggies or something to put on top of this rice. But every plate I saw was nothing but rice. But I'm like, maybe it was just that day. Here's the tea. So Guyana is, well, where they were is tropical. I mean, jungle. Not tropical. They're in the jungle. And although the water that they're near has like, is high in minerals and stuff like that, which he did a good part on that when it came to buying that land. But because of the weather there, they said even a expert farmer would have difficulty trying to grow any fruits or veggies. And because they were so remote where they were, no, it's export, import, what? Who come in there? So they literally lived off of rice, rice and cassava, child. If you was sick, you got an egg that day, and then everybody got eggs on Sunday, which, as you see my videos, I love my fruits and veggies. I don't think I could live one day without spinach. Some type of green. I need spinach or kale at least once a day. I usually have it in 2 of my meals. Like, I'll drink a kale juice, and then dinner I'll load up on greens. But you mean to tell me I'm eating white rice every day, and then on Sunday I get an egg? Yeah, alright. So an ex-temple member was talking about, like, yo, it was every time we ate, it was like this chemical smell, like it was chemicals in the food. They did admit that there was chemicals in the food, but they said it was like a medicine, like an antibiotic for malaria. I think he was just poisoning them, which a lot of people were saying, like, you out in that heat all day working. He would have them work 10 hours a day. They're saying, like, you'd be lightheaded from the chemicals you're eating. And So he claimed he was sick. I think he was just high on drugs all the time. So he would just be slurred. Like, he was always on the microphone. Like, they had speakers. He would always be on the microphone slurring his words. He claimed he had a lung disease, like some fungal thing going with his lungs. So the nurse would be by his side 24/7 feeding him drugs and milkshakes, which, how you drinking milkshakes and everybody else eating rice and eggs? But okay. If you complained about the chores or any of the work you were doing, you got even worse chores. And the thing is, everybody was so scared of each other because he put this fear in your head that, like, you can't trust nobody but me. He made them call him father or dad. No, I think it was dad. He made them call him dad. So it was like, fear everybody except for dad. So you could be on the compound with your mom, but you don't trust her because one day she might switch sides, type of thing. So it was one of those things where you might be confiding in your mom, like, girl, my back hurt. He had me picking grass all day, thinking she got your back, and then she'll run. Because, like, there's no loyalty only to dad. That's it. Everybody else, it don't matter who you are. So mom might run to dad and be like, well, dad, Jim Jones, and be like, she was complaining about this. So then he'll give you even worse chore. Ghetto. If you ran away, this reminded me of slavery. If you ran away, he would put you in a lockbox underground and torture you. One of the clips I was listening to in the podcast, it was so sad. It was like this old elderly man, and this is how you know everybody was brainwashed. So basically, the elderly guy is like, I just want to apologize. So he must have just came out of his punishment, because he sounds so weak. Like, he probably was locked under that box for days. He just sounds so weak. And he was like, I just want to apologize to everybody. My statement about intelligence wasn't trying to diminish everybody as a whole. Like, I was speaking regarding myself. But I think he was waking up and noticing, like, yo, this dude's a wacko. How can't y'all see it? And somebody snitched on him. So he was like, I know he was just trying to make light of everything so he can look good and everything smooth off and he could sneak away, type of thing. So he's like apologizing, and Jim Jones is so rude. And then you can hear this lady brainwash in the back, and she's like, yeah, he said, watch, he gonna be home by Christmas. Ain't that what you said? Ain't that what you said? And I'm like, damn, she ratted him out. And she sounded like an older black woman, which let me believe maybe they were relatives or really good friends when they came, and like now she's snitching on him because her loyalty is to dad. So Jim Jones is like, did you say that? He was like, well, I just want to see my family for Christmas. Is it okay if you let me go home for Christmas? Mind you, that was like the motto. You can leave whenever you want. You don't, like, you're not forced here, which was a lie. So he's like, can I go see? And I mean, I feel bad for the families that lost their people and hear stuff like this, because I can tell he wanted to go back home. Like, I got emotional listening to it. I'm like, this is sad. I'm trying not to cry because it was really sad. He's like, I just want to see my family for Christmas. And Jim Jones is like, yeah, you can go see your family for Christmas, but it ain't gonna be, I forget the name of the airline, but let's say it ain't gonna be on American Airlines. So, which I took it as though I'm not paying for you to go home. Like, you gotta figure out your own way home. And that's how that guy took it as well. So he's like, it doesn't have to be anything fancy or he said it doesn't have to be anything big or anything, which he meant like fancy. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Like, I'll walk, hell. And he's like, if you want to go home by Christmas, basically threatening him with death. Like, that's the only way you leaving here. And it ate me up, because it's so remote. So even though they're in Guyana, let's just stick to Guyana, it's not like okay, so Jonestown, when you land, once you land, mind you, the airstrip was kind of like homemade by them because nobody was living out there at that time. You then had to take maybe like a 5 to 8 mile drive to the actual camp, and that's driving. So if you're walking, that's taking longer. The roads were not paved well because of the weather there and the rain. It was like you pave a road, that dirt road is now flooded. Like it was a lot. So it's not like you could just run away. They only had rice and water. So even if you did decide to leave, how are you going to survive during your travels? Because the next town gotta be, I'm gonna look into that, but I know the next town had to be hundreds. So yeah, he bullied you if you wanted to go home. And this is where I stopped in episode 2 because it was too many names in the pot and I just wasn't getting it. So I'm gonna say what I think is probably gonna happen, and then I'll see y'all tomorrow with the next video. But so there's this guy, Eugene, who's a lawyer. He has a wife and 2 children, a law degree, of course. He joined with his with his family. And then there's this guy, Tim, who's the DA, and his wife, Grace, and they're loyal members. Tim couldn't give his wife children. I don't know what that was about. Like maybe did they try and it didn't work, or something was wrong with him. I don't know. But he couldn't give his wife children, and she really wanted a boy. Now there's 2 sides of the story. So the one Jim Jones tells is the wife, that Tim came to Jim Jones and was like, oh, my wife is kind of having lusting behavior for you. Like, I know she's attracted to you. Can I set you up to see if we can catch her? Like, see if she basically commits treason and tries anything with you, which I don't believe that story. Like, what? And you claim you so magical and godlike, and you can see the future. Why you couldn't just tell that man, yeah, your wife looking at me, or no, she not looking at me? Anywho, so of course Jim Jones, nasty ass, had sex with the wife, and they have a baby boy named John. So the other story is, I'm gonna wait till tomorrow because it was 2 stories. One was just like one that was reported. I don't think it like came from the wife or anything. And then one was like Jim Jones' version. But I think, the other story was the wife really wanted a son, and she came to Jim, or maybe that's the one Jim claims. She came to Jim begging him to give her a son. I think he raped her. So when the son was born, Tim signed paperwork saying, that's not my son, like this is Jim Jones' son. So of course Jim takes the baby away to the compound. Well, the mom, Grace, falls back and she's like, I don't like this stuff no more. Like, I'm leaving the congregation. And she was like fighting hard to get her baby back. I don't know what happened, but the compound started with like 50 people and went to 90 people in just a few months. Like, it was growing fast. But yeah, I'm gonna finish the episode 2 and catch y'all up tomorrow. Ciao.